In this video, I'd like to introduce the concept of bodily rights. We hear the phrase, "my body, my choice," a lot in conjunction with the pro-choice movement, on t-shirts and signs and pins and commercials, but I think the real meaning of those words often gets lost. And I think part of the reason this is because it's kind of a difficult concept to explain and understand. Most pro-life arguments rely on the assumption that the right to life trumps every other right, including bodily rights. This seems like a very reasonable assumption to make, and it is difficult to articulate why it might be mistaken. Judith Jarvis Thomson uses a really interesting thought experiment in her paper A Defense of Abortion to help illustrate the concept of bodily rights, and it goes something like this. You wake up in the morning and find yourself back to back in bed with an unconscious violinist, a famous unconscious violinist. You've been found to have a fatal kidney ailment, and the Society of Music Lovers has canvassed all the available medical records and found that you alone have the right blood type to help. They have therefore kidnapped you, and last night the violinist's circulatory system was plugged into yours, so that your kidneys can be used to extract poisons from his blood as well as your own. The director of the hospital now tells you, "Look, we're sorry the Society of Music Lovers did this to you. We would never have permitted it if we had known. But still they did, and the violinist is now plugged into you. To unplug you would be to kill him, but never mind, it's only for 9 months. By then he will have recovered from his ailment and can safely be unplugged from you." I think this analogy is useful in bringing to light some of the negative ramifications inherent in the belief that the right to life should always supersede bodily rights. Generally, people concede that either it would be very nice if you did stay plugged into the violinist, but you're not morally obligated to do so, or if you are morally obligated to stay plugged in, you shouldn't be forced by the government to do so. However, there are still some people who maintain that because the right to your own body must always come second to the right to life, you should still be forced to stay plugged into the violinist. So I'm going to give a few more examples to drive home the point that bodily rights should, at least in certain times, override the right to life. My first example is bone marrow donation. Extracting bone marrow is an extremely painful procedure, but if we were to be logically consistent, we would also have to favor forced bone marrow donation. Or what about kidneys? This view would also sanction mandatory kidney donation. In certain countries, people actually get kidnapped and have their kidneys stolen. How appalling would it be if our own government was the one doing that sort of thing here? What about cannibalism? Suppose your plane crashes and you and another person are stuck on a deserted island with no food, and you both are starving to death. Under this view, you would be morally obligated to saw off your arm and feed it to the other person. Or consider rape. If a person is about to be raped and the only way to stop it is to kill them, then I think the victim's bodily rights should override the other person's right to life. Suppose again that the perpetrator had no ill intent towards the victim. I watched an episode of Law & Order SVU where a person had a rare condition where he had sex with people while he was asleep. He didn't mean to harm the woman because he was asleep, but I still think that if the victim had a chance to hit him over the head with a brick, she could have. Imagine a society where victims couldn't kill their abusers as a form of self-defense. Instances of rape would probably go up, because there would be less risk for rapists. Therefore, if you still hold that in all cases the right to life should come before bodily rights, then you would have to accept mandatory cannibalism and rape. Now, I realize that these cases aren't all analogous to abortion, but the point is that at least in some cases, bodily rights should override the right to life. The question that remains is whether abortion should be included as one of those cases. So what I'm going to try and do with this channel is demonstrate that abortion is indeed one of those cases, and I'm going to start by addressing some of the disanalogies of Judith Jarvis Thomson's unconscious violinist illustration that have been pointed out by some pro-life philosophers. So subscribe to my channel and comment in the comment section, and I hope to hear from you soon.